This is for anyone redesigning a site, whether you're a designer or you're doing it yourself. If you want to make sure that you try to retain any of the rankings you had before, and make sure that the visitors are not going to 404 pages. So this worksheet will help keep all your pages organized, your previous pages, and then your new pages that are part of the redesign. So I'm going to walk you step by step how to find those pages and how to put them into the worksheet. So here's the worksheet that I have set up, and we are going to use Google Search Console. Ideally, you would have that set up already. So once you log into Google Search Console, this is probably the page that you're going to see. So you're going to open the performance report here. And this is showing you a report of all of the keywords that have come up for any of the pages on the website. But what we actually want is to look at the pages. So what we're going to do is specify the length of time. So it doesn't really matter what the length of time is. You could do last 6 months. What we really want is the number of pages. However, I like to use this information for other things. So I usually choose the last 28 days. And it doesn't matter what you click here, because when you export it's going to give you all the information. So we're going to go ahead and export. The easiest way, if you're going to use this Google Sheet in Google Sheets, is just to export it as Google Sheets. But you can use this in Excel if you prefer. So what is going to happen, so I've already exported this. We're using Crystal Lee Photography's website for this example. And Crystal is also a show it designer, but for her photography website, let's pretend like she was going to redesign it again. And so we are going to export the information from Google Search Console, and you should see the same information that I'm looking at here. We actually want to go down to the Pages tab. Some of this information can be helpful in other things, but it'll be a different video. So we're going to go to the Pages tab, and we're going to so this is going to show us a list of all the pages on the site that are indexed by Google. This doesn't include any pages that Google has never found. But because we're talking about SEO rankings, we're going to focus on making sure these page URLs that have already been found by Google are kind of retained or redirected. So what I'm going to do is we're going to select, we're going to select the pages. We want to move the pages, the number of clicks, the impressions, and the click-through rate over to this worksheet. We're not going to worry about position because that's not really relevant here. So we're going to just copy. Then we're going to go to this worksheet, and we're just going to paste. Just to make this a little prettier. There we go. And so now we have all of the pages that Google has indexed. We have the number of clicks for the last 20 days, number of impressions, click-through rate. So this information is helpful if you want to determine if these pages are actually need to be redirected. So like in the last 28 days, if only like one person has clicked on one of these blog posts, and you're not keeping it, then it's probably not worth redirecting. What I would mainly look for, especially for a redesign, are the main pages, because those are most likely probably already found by visitors. So we want to make sure that we maintain the user experience and maintain rankings. And then I also want to find the blog posts that are probably the most valuable, and then make sure we definitely have redirects set up for those. If say the URL structure is changing, ideally the blog post URL structure would not be changing. So really what I'm focusing on here is actually the main pages. So what we will do, so for right now, actually we're going to sort them by the number of impressions, the number of times they've been seen, because it's probably going to bring up the main pages. And then what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to hide these columns. So you can select the columns right click, and then hit hide. So what we're looking for here are those main pages. So this action column is, telling you or the designer what needs to happen with the page. I know that this is a main page. So if we are going to change it to just new, slash newborns, then we're going to write redirect, and then we're going to actually write in the redirect URL, newborns. And this I know is a blog post. It might help, depending on what kind of pages you have and how many. It might actually help to kind of put in like what type of page it is first, or at least like notate the main pages. So you can, that's a main page. This is a main page. Main. That is a services page. This is an about page. Because if your blog URL structure isn't changing, then you don't need to worry about redirects for the blog post. But you will likely need to worry about the redirects for the main pages. And for Crystal, she has venue pages and venue landing pages. So these. I can't remember if that's a blog post. So that way you know that you need to you need to remember if you're doing it yourself, you need to remember that, these venue pages either need to keep the same URL structure, or they need to be redirected. And if you're working with a designer, that would probably be very important information for them to know for you. And let's see. So you're just going to kind of continue. Cake Smash, I think, is a main page. Bridal Gallery. So once you finished listing all those main pages, to make it a little bit easier, actually I'll pause here. Okay. So I've actually marked all of the main pages. So, and by main pages, I just mean any of the show up pages. So any non-blog post pages need to be marked here. And then what I'm going to do is hit this little filter button, and then I'm going to make sure that only main is checked. And then you need to decide what you're going to do with each page. If it needs redirected, then add that to that column. And if it's going to stay the same, I just put a dash. The home page obviously will be the same. And then you can kind of continue on through here. So for example, she has a baby registry page. So I'm actually going to put in the notes. This is a baby registry, and so I think she has something. There's like an integration on there. So it doesn't need to be designed, but it does need to, it doesn't need to be fully designed, but it does need to exist so that you can add. If you have something like some sort of third-party integration that is like embedded, that you need to make sure you have set up, then you need to kind of notate that. And then make sure that when you put the redirect in there, or if it does need a redirect, that you're actually going to decide what the redirect URL is. Keep it simple, don't keyword stuff, and make sure it's unique from your other URLs. And whenever you're done with that, you can do one of two things. You can add these redirects in Show It once you're ready, and whenever or you can actually use a redirect plugin, but your blog is going to need to be set up for that to happen. So I recommend the redirections plugin. It's literally just called redirections, and I believe you can actually import the spreadsheet. So you could actually export this. So download as CSV, and then it'll only download this one sheet once you're finished, and then you can actually upload it to the redirections plugin. But more than anything, it's just important to make sure that you have a list of the old pages and any new URLs that these need to be redirected to. So it'll make your life easier, make your designer's life easier, and then make the user experience on your website much better because people aren't going to old URLs.